So our feet forwards, middle toe forwards, big toes in a little bit, little toes out a little bit. Full and empty, straightening one leg, bending the other. The bending leg is filling, the emptying leg is straightening. The leg is straightening, the toes are extending, and then the toes clench up and the leg starts bending. Want to feel that action in the spirit as I clench the foot. It's like taking a bite. Imagine opening your mouth really wide to get round the apple and then crunching into the apple. So there's a suddenness and a change. Feel the little toe really trying to extend outwards and then cutting down to catch the ground. Into riding horse. Feel the feet. Big toes coming in a little bit and pressing down. Little toes wanting to go out to the sides. My big toes are responsible for my stability and my rooting, and my little toes are responsible for my moving. Feel the field of gravity. There's a lovely word that Ty knows very well because Enid Blyton used it all the time, and that is solemn. And so it feels solemn, this sinking. It's a heaviness, but it's not a heaviness that bears down on you. It's just like a strictness. It strictly aligns you. If you want to survive it, your spine has to become aligned with the down of gravity. Otherwise, it will crush you down. So if you let it, gravity will wash you free of self. It will just drain all that shit out of you until you're just this, like a beanpole, just standing there. Now let's get the circuit going. So first, the precipitation. So the sun is evaporating the water in the ground. It's rising up, forming a cloud above my head, and then raining down on top of me. And then this point here where it splits at the sacrum. All the time trying to keep with that solemn feeling. It's a bit like a church with a spire, a cathedral. Imagine, when you go into a cathedral, you're struck by the height of the roof or the tower, the spire, and it really does suck your spirit upwards. And the heaviness of the building, all those stones encouraging you to drain into the ground. So it's separating out body and spirit, which is what it's designed to do. And that's the same thing here. We need imagery to help bring the work alive, so that we're not simply going through the motions and thinking about something more interesting. This becomes the only thing. And now let's reverse it. So going down into the roots And now bringing something up the tree, out of the head, and cascading down all around you. So as my hands come down now, they're like the rain that's pouring down around me. And as my hands come up, they're with the strength from the ground that's rising up through my body to balance the down of gravity. Try and use the legs to go down. You don't have to go down very far, because you can just use your mind to reach into the ground. Bring it into riding horse. Now feeling the circle of the arms, like your hands are trying to get around the back of someone and draw them in for a hug. So my elbows need to be out. Imagine they're a big person. So the hands reaching out and trying to pull together is hollowing my chest and making it receptive. And then I want to feel the same thing in the legs. My legs are reaching down and trying to draw together my feet under the ground. And that is stretching this open and making it receptive to the energy of the earth that's coming up the inside of my legs. And then feel the same thing in the head, the eyes. My eyes hood, they're almost closing, becoming blurred, and I'm feeling myself looking from the back of my head and circling the object I'm encountering. And now let's try the two circles. One hand is reaching out, the other hand is drawing in. This is practice. Practice is repeating the same thing day in, day out, and thereby generating difference. Because each time you come to the practice, you are a different person. You feel different. You've moved on. So it's never the same. The structure is the same. But what comes out of it, the energy that's being generated by the practice, is never the same. And this is what we want to become sensitive to. I'm reaching out, encircling someone and drawing them in. Very simple. This whole notion of practice is anathema nowadays, because people are so busy trying to find new experiences. I always say the new four-letter word is deep. It's the one thing people are terrified of, is going deep. They scurry upon surfaces all the time. As soon as something starts getting difficult, they move on to the next thing. The only way to go deep is to pass through the difficulties. And now let's try, just bring the feet up a bit. Now, the same thing, but instead of thinking one circle here that's drawing someone through this side and then a circle here that's drawing someone through the other side, we're now going to just think in terms of drawing a person through to the right side all the time. So I use my right hand first, I reach forwards, and then I yield, turning to the right to draw them through, and my left hand reaches forwards, and then my left hand just continues to help the person through to the right. So let's try that. I reach forwards, pull their arm, this hand reaches out and helps them through. And then trying to make it continuous, like you're pulling a rope and the rope is coming through to your right side. So I reach forwards, I pull the rope to my right, the left hand reaches and sort of pushes the rope from the right to the right, and then the right hand reaches again, pulls. So you're doing the two circles, but sort of facing the corner so that you can draw this one thread through to your right. The two arms pretty much doing the same thing, but they feel different because the right arm is pulling and the left arm is sort of pushing from behind. So the left arm never gets the chance to pull. Then let's try the other side. Now the left hand reaching forwards and now pulling through to your left, your right hand reaching forwards and taking the person through. So my left hand is reaching up, taking the person's arm, and my right hand is reaching behind the person and helping them come through. If you don't have that second arm, even when you're doing simple pushing hands, the effectiveness is really reduced. So just imagine you're pushing hands. So you yield here. If this arm isn't coming up to get behind the person, then to them, it just feels like you're retreating. So as I'm drawing the person through, I need a real sense that I'm encroaching. I'm sneaking forwards and behind them. Feel the weight change. So it's just cross energy. So as I use my left arm, I'm coming into my right foot. And then as the right hand gets behind the person, now I'm in the left foot. But this has to be there in pushing hands, even if you're not bringing the second arm up and ostensibly in, it's still there in your mind. As I'm drawing the person through here, something of my mind is reaching behind them. This is what Dr. Chi was so good at. It's what people said about him. When you push him, he just wasn't there, and then you realize he's behind you. So he's made a lure of this hand and just taken it through, and you're following this hand, and his other arm is getting behind you. Bring it back to riding horse. Now let's try ward off left from the form, the first real posture that we do, because it's basically that yielding is what starts that posture. Someone is in front of you and they're going to attack you with their right hand. So you're going to yield with your right hand. So that involves extending the right hand forwards. So basically making the circle with the right hand. So as I extend my right hand forwards, I'm in my left leg. And then here I bring them in. But as I do so, remember we turn the foot out. So it's a little bit different than what we've just been doing, but pretty much the same. Reaching out and then drawing the person through. And at the same time, you're reaching behind with this hand and then drawing them through here. And then this hand reaches up as though it's going to do another circle. Let's just try just doing the yielding first. So through to this side. So I'm reaching with the right hand, pulling their arm. My left hand is getting behind them. And then as this left hand is sort of doing its work, the right hand can sneak up again. The feeling is in Tai Chi, when you're dealing with another person, they feel like you're climbing up them. You're sort of using them, you're climbing up a rope, and each hand is sort of on a joint. Here I'm reaching their wrist. I pull them through. This hand is sort of getting behind, but that's more with the energy, really. And then that enables this hand to sneak up to the elbow. And then I just step in and push the person away. So we just want to get the yielding sort of continuous. So I reach with the right hand, draw through here. Left hand comes in, right hand sneaks up. And then the left hand, instead of doing this again, it just whacks into them from underneath. It's almost like it goes the other way. So instead of going this way, it goes this way. This happens a lot in Tai Chi. So let's try it again. Reaching forwards. Yeah, so as you start yielding here, you need to pivot on this heel. Only a little bit. You don't have to get the foot all the way round like we do in the form. Everything's quite small and modest. This foot just turns out to the corner. And then as this hand comes in, the second hand, that's when I start coming into that foot. And then I can reach up again and bang. And then it just continues into this hand cutting down. Reaching, yielding, left hand coming behind the person. That enables the right hand to reach up again. And then my left hand comes up and my right hand just cuts down. So at the end, the energy is in the right hand because your weight is in the front foot. One, two, three, four, five, six. One, two, three, four, five, six. So your left hand is reaching forward. You're in the right foot. And now pivot your left foot out a little bit to the corner. Reach with your right hand, get behind them. Then your left hand reaches up again. You step forward with your right foot. Let's try it on the other side. You should be more familiar with this one because this is the side of the short form. Exactly the same thing, just a mirror image. Reaching forward with your right hand, yielding, reaching forward with your left hand, bringing the person through, reaching up their arm with your right hand again, stepping into them and swinging up your left arm underneath their arm. That hoists them up in the air. Once they've left the ground, you then yank at their wrist and pull them down, and that whiplashes the neck. reaching. So this is the tricky bit. It's just sinking enough in this foot that I can just pivot on this heel and get it pointing out. Otherwise, the step's just a bit tricky. So reaching, turning to your left, and then turning here, turning the toes out. This hand comes up, and now I'm coming into that foot. And then the other hand reaches up again. I step forwards and ward off left. One, two, three, four, five, six. And so keeping this continuity with the two circles, it sort of draws in. What we're looking for all the time is the antidote to the centrifugal. So we know from Tai Chi, we're turning the waist and everything is relaxed and the arms are being thrown out all the time. That's just the first stage. That's the relaxation stage before you get into the correct sort of tension. And the correct sort of tension is always pulling into the core, into the center. And so that comes from just keeping a continuity that is sucking in all the time. So my centrifugal is throwing everything out, but my inner quiet and my inner determination is drawing everything into a center. Reaching out, in, out with the other hand, up with the right hand again, and then the left arm up and the right arm down. Yes, as always in Tai Chi, the difficult bit is getting the steps in. So let's try again. Reaching forwards with your right hand, then yielding, turning out your right toes. Your left hand comes behind them. Right hand reaches up their arm to their elbow. Your left arm comes up underneath and your right hand cuts down. One, two, turning out those right toes. Three, now it's here, as you reach up with this left hand, that's when you step forwards. You have to catch the moment, otherwise you'll get stuck and the foot won't be able to come off the ground. One, two, three, four, five, six. Let's try the other side again. Reaching, yielding, reaching with the other hand, continuing them coming through, reaching up again with your left arm, bringing up your right to ward off and bringing down your left. One, two, just relax the shoulder of the arm that's up. Or that shoulder tends to hunch up. We're always having to tell ourselves to drop the shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's just bring it back to riding horse. Feet forwards, so the big toes in a little bit, little toes out a little bit. Feel the heel. Your weight is sinking into the heel, but you're physically pressing down with your big toe. And then you have the pad just behind the little toe that's also strongly on the ground, that part of the outside edge. Try and relax across the sacrum. So the sacroiliacs, these two joints where your hip bones hold your sacrum, they're very much connected to the heels. So when these relax, it feels like they really become significant, and that you feel that similarly in the heels, like the heels are wanting to twist outwards. And then let's bring it up. With the same feet, big toes almost coming in to touch each other, little toes pointing out to the side. The feet need endless work, only because we've crippled them by wearing shoes our whole lives. But the Chinese understood, didn't they, that the best way to domesticate a woman is to bind their feet. So if you can reduce the mobility and the freedom inside the feet, then the person just becomes submissive. And that's what we're trying to break out of. That's what shoes have effectively done to us. They've turned us into domestic slaves, conformists. You know, Tai Chi is just all about waking up the spirit and getting back to a more natural state. And that natural state is always more wild and more crazy than the way we've become from living in society, from conforming and consuming. Okay, good.